So in the process of expanding your territory, you might have to go reasoning and examine your own culture, where you come from. Hopefully you do something brilliant so more people can see it. It has some artistic and cultural value to it. So that's a long time struggle. But I think my upbringing, the Chineseness, is something very special, whether I make Chinese film or English language film. I have different, I think I can catch Jane Austen world a lot easier than a lot of the Western directors. Because I think Jane Austen is somewhat Chinese. The doubleness, the yin and yang, and she can obtain at the same time. I think some part of it is it's easier for Asian director to catch. Like Western, I think Asian director is more used to deal with negative space. So when you do Western, you have, when you capture the elegiac mood, you have to know how to deal with space. And we're born and raised that way. And we're born and raised to have that non-verbal culture. It's close. Actually, that becomes an advantage. Of course, the texture you have to diligently adapt and learn. So that's my experience. I'm still very hopeful, and I always hit backlash that I have to deal with. I have to contemplate, just try to do better next time.
So you have had traditional Chinese education in Taiwan, and then you've also had Western education, and you feel that that is your strength.
That really
so
helped me
Chinese,
to understand Taiwan and
being
China.
Chinese, understanding Chinese gives you more strengths. And so you think, like your son wants to be a filmmaker now. He's American born and bred, and do you think then his sense of entitlement and his claim of America, automatic claim of America, work against or for him? And for the American-born
he won't have my advantage. His Chinese is not enough.
So it is
he had
harder
no
to survive in Hollywood. So it is harder to survive in Hollywood if you didn't have, if you are only Chinese looking and you didn't understand China.
Well, it's actually a big question. I found some of us myself, Zhang Wu, or Wayne Wang, and some the more successful in Hollywood or American film, are not because we speak better English, far away from it, but we actually established in Chinese language film. You really get exercise and get mastering in your craft, and then you pick up the cultural part and the language. That's actually easier to surpass. Actually, we did better than people who do speak better English and raised here, know American better, and is American at heart, like my kids. So it's very hard to say.
Well, I have another question here from the audience. Please tell us more about what you consider to be typical Chinese way of making movies, and what, if anything, in Chinese literature has influenced you.
I don't know if there's a Chinese way of making films.
So compare,
from day one of Chinese cinema, we try to copy Hollywood. That's Chinese film industry history. You know, it's not invented in China. You know, it's established in France, in America, in Russia, and we try to learn. We're still in a learning curve. I think a lot of people, it was very frustrating for me. They have a Chinese way or Western way. To me, they feed off each other. I wouldn't be able to make those Chinese films, not only with the point of views, but with the clout, the ability to go about it and make what I do, unless I made English language film, unless I was educated, I can crack down the Chinese culture like that and make them, I think, interesting. And I wouldn't be make this special, unique English language film, except that I'm Chinese. I look at things differently. So when I collaborate with the local film crews and actors, something new will happen. That really benefits me. If I'm doing this is my Chinese film, this is my English film, that's really, really limited. I don't think that's how the world is going now. I think that's kind of a negative attitude. I think Chinese culture and Chinese film history, they're not sufficient to make the film industry competitive. When you have Western film, Hollywood film playing the theater, and Chinese don't watch Chinese film, that's the thing. In Taiwan, gradually in Hong Kong, even in China, it's hard to compete. How do you make yourself competitive if you don't catch up? If you don't recognize that it's invented and established in the West, that you really have to get it in before you can merge your culture and do something new to it. Not only accepted by the world, but to your own people. They have to be attractive. You have to drag them to the theater. You have to be competitive, and you have to learn. And let's just be modest to face the fact and get strong. And then after a while, not only you have your own audience, you can export it to the world. I think that's the way it ought to be going. To be honest with you, I don't think the Chinese film culture and culture itself, even including literature, it's sufficient to be compatible. Not only literature, but then psychology, drama, sociology, philosophy. I mean, we have a wealth of culture and histories and literatures and fairy tales, everything to be told, but then you have to really take the psychology, and everything we're kind of weak compared to the Western, we're much weaker. You have to use that method, but then you have to really take the psychology, and everything we're kind of weak compared to the Western, we're much weaker. You have to use that method and combine and do something compatible, not only to the world, but to your own market.
Yeah, I think that's where your strengths, you and James Shamus combine together so James is like a good person to even advise on a Chinese language picture like Lust Caution, because he provides
not
the
only
American
he's a
perspective.
good filmmaker, I think his upbringing here complement what I'm lacking of.
Yeah.
The knowledge, the sense. When it comes to film noir, how do you do film noir? Detective story. I've never seen a Chinese film that's good at detective. Like they're pathetic. Like, a lot of the things were pathetic. I think martial arts is kind of the best thing we do. And after that, I don't know what we can be proud of, really. We have melodrama, we have propaganda film. Where's the detective, suspense, red herring, movie stars like Star Systems,